was born in Portland, Maine. My mother was a piano teacher. My dad was chairman of the Republican Party in the state of Maine at one time, and one of our United States senators, who was kind of a role model for me, was Margaret Chase Smith, who was our United States senator. And that was a long time ago. That's in the 40s when I lived in Maine. But we've all been interested, because of my dad's involvement, in politics in one way or the other, mainly by maybe being a precinct captain or being involved in some campaign. No one but myself has actually run for office before. Since I had been bitten by the bug a long time ago, the next year I thought I could run for the legislature, because it's only a part-time job, because you only have to meet every other year. My kids at the time were 4 and 5, and my husband was supportive. He was proud of what I had done and would do and did do. I had file cabinets full of all kinds of issues, but unfortunately most of the people were concerned about the age of my children and the fact that I was going to be running for office when they were so little, who was going to take care of them. I'd been told that the kids were going to grow up to be juvenile delinquents. They wouldn't amount to anything. My husband was probably going to divorce me, and I was a homewrecker, and on and on and on. But I had 2 men running against me in the Republican primary, and we were all the same age. But I don't think they ever were asked about their small children, but they could have split the vote, and I was the unusual one, so I was elected. And my children today, my son's an attorney. My daughter has 2 master's degrees and has her own business, and they're pretty successful, both of them. So I think it can work out pretty well. In the next race, I didn't have an opponent, either Republican or Democrat, but I still went and knocked on every door again, because my feeling was, if it wasn't their fault that they didn't have a choice, so I should go and listen to what they had to say and what their concerns were. I served from 1975 to 1980 in the Assembly. Very few women in the Assembly. There was only 1 woman in the Senate at the time. Got a lot of bills passed, and I then went to the Senate. I served terms from 1980 to 1990 in the Senate, and at that time, Brian McKay, who was our Attorney General, a charismatic kind of candidate, asked if I'd like to run. He was going to run for governor, if I'd like to run for lieutenant governor. And I said yes. As it turned out, he did not run, so I was there by myself. And normally you combine, there's this parade on this date and this barbecue on that date, so you sort of organize your campaigns. And so I ran again by myself. The lieutenant governor's campaign, of course, was quite different because it was a statewide. Fortunately, I did win the election. After my tenure as lieutenant governor, which was 4 years, Bob Miller was enthusiastic about my running again, but I decided not. But he did offer that any job you want, I will appoint you to. So I served on the Gaming Commission for 12 years after my being lieutenant governor. But I was able to fill in for the governor, Bob Miller, who was out of state for a couple of days. So I was the acting governor. Thinking back on myself, when I was 34 and was advised to run for the school board, when my kids got older, and I said no, I didn't want to wait that long, because if young women don't get involved in the political process, there's not time enough left to maybe be governor of the state of Nevada, or maybe even president of the United States. If you feel that it's important and you're 25 or you're 35, do it.